What's up, everybody? Welcome to Q's Lounge. We're gonna get it in.
You wake up, sun up, I'm in milk in your coffee. I'm laid up on the sofa with a guitar shaped like your body. While you pull a little sip and sway your caffeinated hips. Brown skin, mama, the morning sweet when you're by me. Fill up my cup. You ask me how I like it, baby.
Yeah. Welcome to Q's Lounge.
I take it black like you.
Yeah, black like you. Welcome to Q's Lounge. I'm your host, Brother Q.
I take it black like you.
And I'm so excited for this show today.
I take it black.
If this is your first time to Q's Lounge, I want to welcome you. If you're coming in from Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, I want to tell you, welcome. Q's Lounge is our little space to vibe and chill and talk about all matters of the heart.
I can love you to your soul. We can create.
Excited today. We got a special guest today. Something real special for you guys. We can go ahead and vibe right quick.
Ask me how I like it, baby. My love, you already know. I take it black like you. I take it black like you. Just like you are, I take it black like you. Baby, I take it black like you. Take it black, I take it black like you. I've been feeling for a minute, baby. Sentimental for your sentiment shade. Oh my God, you drive me crazy. Oh, tell me where you come from. Let me hear your water. We can make some new life with our love and make them black like you. Baby, let's make them black like you. Oh, 'cause I love you. I take you black like you.
Yeah. I want to welcome everybody to Q's Lounge. You know, I'm your host, Brother Q, and welcome to Q's Lounge. And again, if this is your first time into Q's Lounge, I want to welcome you and to kind of let you know a little bit about Q's Lounge. Q's Lounge is a safe space. It's our little space to vibe and chill. You know, one of the things that we do on Q's Lounge is we talk about all matters of the heart, and I believe that everything in life is a matter of the heart. And a big thing that we talk about is we always talk about love. And so today we have a special show. If you didn't see the last show, I want to tell you, you want to go back and watch the last show. The last show was called Narrative, and I want to say shout out to Latasha Wilson for joining us on the last show. But today, I'm extremely excited because I have somebody who is someone who I'm fond of. You know, a lot of times men don't see men that they can look at who are not somebody who is like a celebrity or someone who is like look almost like a peer and be super fond of them. So I'm excited to have our special guest on today. I think you're going to love our special guest. And I want everybody to give a warm welcome to my guy, to my man, our special guest. And Nyatu Marvel is Hitch. How you doing today, brother?
Man, I am marvelous. No pun intended. I'm happy to be at Q's Lounge. Man, I have nothing but respect for Quaylen and how he moves and how he chooses to use the platform. And so, yeah, this is going to be a good night. Definitely chime in. You're going to get some truth that you probably don't get very often.
Absolutely, brother. And I appreciate you for making yourself available. Q's Lounge, again, you are the type of person, and what you do is what I would like to be able to have in Q's Lounge all the time. So I'm hoping that the show goes so well that you will come back. You know what I mean? So again, let me just give a little background to Nyatu. I want you guys to know who Nyatu is. Nyatu A Marvel is Hitch. He's a dating relationship consultant. His credentials include certified relationship, premarital, and marriage counselor and facilitator, a prepared enriched couple assessment, and certified life coach. He is a true Renaissance man and a published author, media personality, public speaker, investor, and trader, and Black love enthusiast. And Nyatu also co-authored the new Amazon bestseller, Why He Married Her and Played Me, 9 Secrets to What He's Thinking. He is the former co-host of iHeartRadio talk show, He Said, She Said. He sat on the He Said, She Says relationship panel at the 25th anniversary of the Black Women's Expo, as well as numerous other relationship panels, talk radio shows, and podcasts. And Yatu's personal mantra is live life on and with purpose. And Nyatu, thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Man, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, I want to ask you before we jump into our topic, where did the inspiration, what moved you to become a dating and relationship consultant? Where did that come from?
It's so funny. It kind of more so found me, right? Sometimes you like things, you are even gifted in things, but you don't recognize your own gifts. And so even as a really young person, elementary school, high school, I was given tips and advice on love and relationship very early on. And got to high school, probably wasn't using it for the best things, right? Trying to help guys get with women. But I just started to pay attention to the dynamics between men and women, especially Black young men and women. And social media came about, conversations would come about. I would jump into the conversations and just give my 2 cents. And then a friend of mine I went to high school reached out to me and said, hey, I know a lady who's having a panel on relationships and marriage. And I told her she should get you on the panel. And I was like, why? And she's like, you can't see why? She's like, man, you're into it and you know what you're talking about. And so I always love to give a shout out to Terry Connor. She's a relationship coach, a life coach. I say she's who discovered me. That's the first panel that I participated in. And then later, Wanda B of He Said, She Said on iHeartRadio and Intellectual Radio asked me to be a guest on her show. It went really well. So maybe a couple of weeks later, I got invited back again. And then again, and I think after the 5th time, she was like, look, I want you to be the co-host. I want you to be on here every week. And it just went from there. And when the movie Hitch came out, all my friends was like, that's you. And I was like, yeah, how do I reach that audience? How do I find that target market and market and promote myself to them, especially when Hitch did it underground, which I think is pretty smart. Right. And I didn't see a way to do it, but lo and behold, technology and life moved on, and I saw the opening. And I made that short story long, but here I am, Nyatu Marvel Hitch. I'm a Black love enthusiast, but I love to see anybody and everybody have healthy, happy, sustainable, romantic love in their lives if that's what they desire. And I know I wanted that for myself, and I didn't know how to create it for myself. I didn't know how to curate it for myself, and so I just started collecting information and talking to as many married people and getting as much feedback as I possibly could. And I tell people I'm not an expert. I'm a student, right? But I will share my cliff notes. I will share my notes with whoever is willing to listen. And so that's my story. Thank you for asking, Q.
Man, it's so crazy because, we talk about, your circle. You want to be around like-minded people at times because iron sharpens iron that way as well. And it's just interesting to hear what you said and where that came from because I see myself in that. And so I hope one day to write a book, make sure you go out and get his book on Amazon and all the things that you've done. And so we're really glad to have you here. I'm going to ask you a question. Well, first of all, our topic today is on intimacy, man. And when I talked to you about this, I said, you and I as men, especially as Black men, I said, I'm going to say that with my chest, as Black men, we need to have a conversation about what is intimacy. You know what I mean? And I believe that you and I can have a conversation about, where intimacy is more than just sex, and a lot of times when you're in that single and depending on what season that you're in,
Right.
There's a lot of women and I'm just speaking to what the demographic has been from these relationship conversations, are people that are 30 to 40s. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're in that season of they're finding their sexuality, and we're having conversations about sexuality. But you know what? Sex is not keeping relationships together. And so I really wanted to have get your opinion about and your insight around what is intimacy beyond sex.
Oh, great question. As you shared, it's not something men talk about a lot, and I think we are probably in the most sexualized time in history. Right, sex is prevalent all over the place, and people are a lot more open and a lot more forward, and even forcing, in some cases, their sexuality on people. But for me, intimacy is a special level of closeness and togetherness. And so when I think of intimacy, I don't think of sex. I think about a feeling that I have about a woman. I think about a level of trust and comfortability that I have with a woman, that I can be vulnerable and just truly relax with that woman. And so, I grew up in love. I always crack the joke using the song, I don't mean to give you the wrong impression, but I need love and affection. And I'm not talking about sex, right? I'm talking about that closeness, that togetherness that you can only experience with somebody special. And so I can have sex with any woman, or at least almost any woman, but I can't create intimacy with any woman. And so that comes from a conversation and really getting to know one another, really having an openness with one another. And I believe a spark that, if it's not there in the beginning, it may never be there to create that intimate space where you really, really feel it. And I think in this microwave world we have right now, things are moving so fast. People are so busy. I think back to the woman I cared about very much coming to see me, and we having sex, and then she jumped up and kissed me on the head like, I hate to hit and run, and then ran out the door.
Wow. Wow.
And
Yeah,
so,
well,
I'm down with a quickie
yeah.
here and there, or everywhere. But
Yeah.
I do need. I'm a guy, and I don't think all men are the same. But I'm a man who needs intimacy, needs that closeness and that togetherness, and that's why I campaign for marriage, and that's why that is one of my intentions and purposes for myself, is to get married, because I want that intimacy, I want that closeness, I want that togetherness every day if I can.
That's what's up. I want to ask you, so can you have intimacy? How would you define intimacy versus affection?
Again, affection is touching and things of that nature, but you can have that and not be fully comfortable and not be fully able to be fully vulnerable. In fact, many people are engaging in even sex with their guards up, right? And so affection is the physical part of it, but I think intimacy is the spiritual, emotional, and intrinsic, invisible portion of it that can't be touched and can't be seen, but can only be felt.
I ask you this question because as a man, and I just believe that whatever you're going to say to this question, answer this question, that I'm going to be able to relate to. How has intimacy to you, like, how have you grown? Like, what was intimacy to you when you were younger, and then now as a bearded man? Um, what is intimacy to you now compared to when you were younger?
Yeah, when I was younger, I was young and dumb and full of cum, and so I
Yeah.
probably wasn't even thinking about intimacy. But hindsight being 2020, I can remember being 18 years old and really experiencing that, and it taking me aback. Um, it actually brought me to tears. My high school sweetheart was going away to the Air Force, the National Guard or whatever the case may be, the reserves. She was going away to boot camp, and I thought I was fine, and we were hanging out maybe a week before she was leaving, and just like spooning and cuddling in bed or whatever, and Boys to Men came on. It's so hard to say goodbye.
Oh,
And
yeah.
next thing I know, I'm crying, right? And so again, while I experienced a lot of the same misguided thoughts about women and dating and relationships that a lot of young men did, I believe I was different in some ways because I've always been in tune with my feelings, and I didn't spend my youth in survival mode. Like I said, love was being poured on me so much that I had an abundance to give and wanted to give. And so I found myself as a young person trying to figure out how to balance being like other young people and being myself, because I wasn't like other young people in a lot of ways. And so I think now it's just a lot deeper. I'm a lot more open to it. No machismo getting in the way, no man code getting in the way, no concern about what some other man thinks getting in the way. I can just be myself and do what feels right and what feels natural to me. And love feels natural to me. Love and abundance feels natural to me, and closeness feels natural to me. And so yeah, I seek it, I curate it, I create it, and I do what I can to preserve it, because I think it really is something really special and that impacts people's everyday life. Like, you really don't think about that, but in the morning time, I love to study people, right? So in the morning, I see people going to work or whatever, and a lot of those people are pissed off already. They haven't even got to work, but you can see the scowl on their face and things of that nature. And other people are skipping and glowing. And I think, that has to do with what went on last night and what's already going on in their lives. And so, yeah, hugs, love, affection, intimacy give me a better overall disposition and empower me to be the best version of myself, and not, like I said, be in a more of a loving mode than a survival mode, which is hard to do, especially as a Black man in this country.
Word. You are a relationship counselor for also married folks. One of the things that oftentimes breaks down in a relationship is when the intimacy stops, right? You still love this person and all the things that you said are true, but the intimacy, you're not pouring into the intimacy, and I wonder, what can you say or share about some of the challenges that people face in regards to in marriages and with intimacy, and how do they get to that place? Because you kind of get to a place where it gets dark and you get into a routine, like they know Saturday, is the jump off time, and you come into that space for the jump off time, and it's and you on a clock, you know what I mean, or you got to go whatever, and you're not having that cuddle time, you're not having that like just sit in it for a moment and let's just feel each other, our energy together, you know what I'm saying? So what from your experience with counseling, what are some of the challenges that you've seen that folks have had in relationship to intimacy, and what kind of advice do you have for those struggling in a marriage with intimacy?
Great question. You kind of answer some of it in your question because you're so thorough. But yeah, a lot of couples struggle with intimacy, and it's just for the reason you said, that people get so caught up in the day-to-day, they get caught up in a routine, and that routine doesn't include intimacy anymore, because there's, we want nice homes, we want nice cars, we want vacations, people want purses and wallets and designer sunglasses and and whatever else, and they get so caught up in that that they forget about some of the things that are really actually important to them, right? Again, these people are mad going to work. They don't know why, right? Because they haven't looked in the mirror and looked at themselves. And so, a really successful person, one of his favorite quotes was, no days unalert, which means don't allow yourself to get in this rhythm of Groundhog Day where you're just going through the day and you're on automatic pilot and you aren't paying attention anymore. And so, usually when you talk to couples about when they first met, that's when the magic was there. And if you can get them to talk about when they first met, you can visibly see the magic start to re-enter back into them. And so you really have to be intentional about it. You really have to be self-aware, aware of yourself. Yes, you do need a home. Yes, you do need a car. Yes, you do like nice things, but you need closeness and togetherness with your partner too. And again, sometimes we just get caught up in the day-to-day and we forget about it. And so I highly recommend couples who are struggling with intimacy to get some help. In addition to a person like myself who, is just coaching and consulting and counseling the relationship, there are intimacy coaches who that's what they specialize in, is in giving people tips and tools and things that they can do and practice on a daily basis to create the intimacy if it was never there, or to bring the intimacy that was there in the past back to the relationship in the present. And so, yeah, Sherelle Thomas is an intimacy coach, and she has tons of people going to her because she's great at what she does. And so it's all about being intentional and recognizing the need. That's one of the most basic human needs, is meaningful companionship. And again, because we got so caught up in the rat race, people think that companionship is about things that it isn't really about. That if you can't just sit with a person and do nothing in silence and really enjoy the energy and enjoy the space, then all of those other things, all the things that money can buy, won't create that intimacy for you and won't fulfill you, at least in that space.
Yeah, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts around communication and intimacy? Because in silence, like those of you who follow Q's Lounge, one of my favorite songs is "I Want You Around" by Snow, and there's a part in the song when she says, I don't need to touch you, or just feel you. Like, I want to feel your energy. So I'm in agreement with that. But how important is communication to intimacy?
I think it's very important that part of what establishes the ability to create intimacy is trust, right? A feeling of safety. And it's not often talked about that men need to feel safe too, but we really do. And so I can just think about decades of my life where I would go to women's houses and we would have sex, and I couldn't even sleep at their house. And I ain't feel, and not like I thought somebody was gonna bust in and tie me up or anything, but I really didn't feel safe in those spaces. So I would just be like up all night or sneaking out, right? Women would catch me sneaking out. You sneaking out? But it was because we hadn't had a level of communication that made me feel like I could trust them enough to be vulnerable and enough to share intimacy with them. And so there's a depth of conversation. There's a quote that says, I low-key fall in love with anybody who is really transparent with me, right? Because we know that it takes courage to do that. We know that it takes some level of trust to do that, and an exchange of energy to be able to do that. And so, communication is to what any relationship, what breathing is to living. It is so important. Unfortunately, there are so many relationships where there are uncommunicated expectations is killing the relationship, because people haven't talked about what they want. People haven't talked about what they need and how to achieve it. And so, to answer your question, communication might be the key, the number one ingredient to creating intimacy.
Yeah, much of what we are talking about, today is about romantic relationships, but I also just see, I'm a father. I believe you have children yourself, and I think this is also just that you got to be able to have an intimate relationship with your kids too. I mean, because we are to be their, the wisdom and to be able to provide just information for them that they need to trust us, that we could be a guide for them. And if we can't, you can't do that with your child. You know what I mean? You very well can struggle in your romantic relationship. So it's applicable not just in romantic relationships. I want to ask you a question, and I'll have the moderator bring it up. But how is intimacy different for women than it is for men? You take a stab and I'll take a stab. How about that? I ain't gonna leave you out there hanging, brother, because that's what
Let me
brothers don't
just
do that.
say that I have never been a woman, so it's just pure speculation. But I gather that women need to feel safe too, to be able to feel vulnerable, and that deep communication and connection is what creates that. And so, yeah, I don't know that it is any. I don't know that it is any different. I think when a man is being true to himself to create that intimacy, that I think both genders are dealing with the same thing. But again, that's just me looking from the outside, looking in.
Yeah, my 2 cents is that, men struggle with vulnerability more than women do, because women, the environment that they grow up in, where there's a lot more communication, there's a lot more sharing of the feelings and all that. Like that's why this show today is kind of special to me, because I know I can expect for you to go where no man will go. You know what I mean?
Right,
And so,
right.
and speaking about feelings and emotions, and so as you spoke, you've talked about the vulnerability, and it's really hard to really have a love that is authentic if you struggle with communication and vulnerability. And so for men, and this is coming from a conversation that you and I had around, can you have your woman, right, wife, or your woman, the lady you are courting, hopefully, be your best friend, right? Like your main person. And some men after several years can say, like, my parents have been married 54 years, that they're best friends. But that probably took decades before you can get to that point. But there's a level for men because of pride, I believe. And not that women don't have pride, but I can just speak passionately about, for a man, is that we oftentimes are looking for you, woman. Sometimes it looks like we want your body, right? We want all these things, but sometimes we just need you to just be, forgiving, in ways, you know what I mean? There's sometimes we just need to be able, can we be vulnerable and not lose you because we were vulnerable, right? Yeah. So that question for you regarding how do you see it differently? It's in the conversations that you have with regards to dating, relationship, to the counseling. What type of scenarios have you seen that could be helpful as far as application for a person who is challenged in their relationship? And you keep it like, somebody who's been dating for like a year, and and when you're dating for a year and you're like over 30, over 40, that's a lot longer, you know what I mean? And it's dog years, right? What kind of advice or scenarios that you have for application around challenges with intimacy for women with a man in a relationship and vice versa, and how do you overcome that in a dating relationship?
I'm very glad you asked that question. What I want to say first of all is that in 2023, a lot more women probably than ever before struggle with being vulnerable and creating intimacy as well. That unfortunately, in many cases, women have been placed in survival mode too. And so it's for slightly different reasons, but a lot of women have blockages as it pertains to vulnerability and intimacy as well. And so I think that men and women really need to take some time and educate themselves about each other. That I think too many men are getting the information that they absorb about women at the barbershop, right? And yes, sometimes that's some really terrible information being provided at the barbershop. And I think too many women are getting their advice at the salon and or from people in the romance industry who are more concerned with monetization than they are with helping people. And so, people are running with these sound bites that sound good and make people feel strong in the moment, like they aren't being emotional. People talk about not being in their feelings and not caring anymore and bragging about being petty. And so, but if we studied each other, we would gain an understanding of how to create it, and then we don't have to reject it, right? Because I think people are just rejecting it because they're afraid that if they really allow themselves to want it and desire it and they can't create it, they don't want to deal with the disappointment and heartbreak of it all. And so for men, I highly recommend that men buy either the physical copy of the book, or if you're a guy on the run and reading is not your thing, buy the audio version of the book, Ways of the Superior Man. And what that book will do is introduce you as a man to how some of the things that we do and say affect the woman that we're romantically connected to, right? And if you're oblivious to that, you won't realize some of the ways you might be stealing away her safety, her ability to be vulnerable, her ability to give you the fullness of her love. And on the other side, women have been taught that men have less feelings and there are things that we don't care about that we actually do care about. And so we have to unlearn, women are going to have to unlearn some of those things that they learn. And women are going to have to recognize that, as well as them needing to feel safe, that they need to do things to make their romantic partner feel safe, and not do things that make their romantic partners feel unsafe. And so, they need to, first and foremost, couples need to treat each other with kindness. Couples need to give each other grace. Couples need to listen to comprehend and not listen to respond to one another. Even if you feel like you disagree, get more information and a better understanding of what you think you're disagreeing about. And so, I think people need to take their time, not be afraid to love on their partner, not be afraid to give their best. I think we've arrived at this weird place where people are so hell bent on protecting themselves that it's almost to the point where we don't feel safe unless we're the one getting over, right? Unless, in some ways we're the ones giving less or maybe mistreating a little more. And we got to really get out of that space. That's a destructive space, and it really doesn't work. Protecting everybody who thinks they're out here protecting themselves or went on this path of protecting themselves has still found disappointment and still found hurt. And so we think when we experience disappointment and heartbreak that it's designed for us to create these shields around our heart. But I'm coming to understand that heartbreak is to break your heart open, to make your heart so strong that you can love regardless, right? And you can love through disappointment, and you can love yourself through disappointment. So hopefully those tips help.
Yeah, and just want to also too, we're so much more than what we see. I've talked about, I have a podcast called Skin Deep, and talking about how if all that you love is what you can see, then you can't really love me, right?
Right.
Have you ever had one of those moments, man? I don't know, like where you've seen a woman just talking about whatever she's passionate about. It could be like, for me, like I'm in the in the realm outside of the podcast of like advocacy for Black home ownership, right?
Right.
But you see an intelligent woman, and she's on the mic, or you even read her book. You ever seen a fine woman just talking, and you connect, you like, dang, like you feel something connecting because you can hear her mind, right? Like there's like talk to me about mental intimacy and like spiritual intimacy, because somebody's faith and spirituality can bring you in close as well. So what can you say about that? Because I think sometimes we get so like in a box around intimacy and relationships, right? And I think there's so much more, to us. But to me, especially as a grown man, right, seasoned, right, um, there's parts of a woman that that we've actually have overlooked, and now that we have eyes that can see, I'm like, man, it's sexy when you see a woman who is intellectually, spiritually, inclined and motivated. So, what do you have to say about mental intimacy as well as spiritual intimacy?
Yeah, mental intimacy is really, really powerful. In fact, it is so powerful that I had to take some time and really get some control over myself, because I found it difficult to admire a woman. It's like what you said. You hear a woman talking, she's talking with passion. She knows what she's talking about. She's conveying her point, her mission, her purpose, not only verbally, but energetically as well. I found it difficult to admire those women without desiring them romantically. And so I had to learn to differentiate from the two, that I can feel mental intimacy with a woman and really admire where she's coming from, and how she's putting it down without interpreting it as romantic interest, right? And so, yeah, I found myself totally attracted to some women who, just because of the way that they were operating in their space, that I might not have even paid much attention to the physical prior to hearing them speak and seeing how they were moving. But once I did, it was hard. They were hard for me to resist. And then that spiritual intimacy too. One of the things that I really admire about some women is how they parent. Like, I really respect and admire and am attracted to women who are really good parents, really good intentional mothers, really loving on their children, really putting thought into how they're parenting, and trying to balance the co-parenting role, and being really, really supportive of their child, and paying attention to their child enough to discover what their children are passionate about, and then to help facilitate that. And so that is truly a thing. And as you shared, it doesn't have to be romantic. That I credit a woman named Sarah for saving my life. I was about to say to some degree, but really there is no to some degree. She saved my life, but she's an evangelist. She's a pastor. She's a prophetess. And I revered her so much. I respected her so much that early on I came to her and told her I didn't know if I was worthy of her friendship, right? Because I was still sinning. I wasn't saved, certainly wasn't walking in the exact same path that Jesus walked at that time, and she was. And even in that, she's like, you think I don't know who you are? Like, and you think God doesn't know who you are? Like, God made you who you are. She's like, have I ever tried to get you to go to church? Have I ever tried to, really get you to do anything? And the answer was no. But yeah, she really got me to trust God about my relationship with my son, and overcoming legal obstacles that were keeping us apart. That she got me to totally stop fighting. She said, you fought. Now it's time to just totally trust God. And she said, whatever they say, when you disagree with it, you think it's wrong, you even think it's going to hurt your son, just go with it and don't say anything. And it was so crazy that I followed that advice, and the lawyers, the judges, everybody was like, you're different. And when I stopped arguing and I stopped fighting, they no longer saw me as part of the problem anymore, right? And when two people are going back and forth, when the parents are at war, it's the child that gets wounded. And so what Sarah did was, show me that it was time to stop warring physically and verbally, and to really trust in God and trust in my love for my son and my desire to be in my son's life. And that had to be the single most greatest piece of advice that I ever got, because it reunited me with my son, and it even changed my relationship with my son. It helped me to create intimacy with my little man.
Man, I want to tell you thank you for everything you have said and shared, because like I say, man, we don't have these conversations at the barbershop. This is a whole different barber. This is Q's Lounge. You know what I
Right,
mean? This is
right,
Q
right.
with special guests in Yatu. Marvel was Hitch in order to be able to have these conversations. So I appreciate everything you just said, because as a man, one of the things that's true about life, there's no new feelings and emotions. You know what I mean? Like what man has always walked with, no matter what color you are, you have these feelings and these desires. And so for you to share what you shared, I hope that inspires, because, we are going to get to vulnerability one way or another. And if you have kids, and if you have anybody that you love, you're going to get to vulnerability in a way that it could be a crash course, or you can pump your brakes and take heed to a good word. And I appreciate you today, man, coming on in Yatu. It's been a blessing. I want to make sure that that you will let everyone know how to follow you, how to get in touch with you, how to get some counseling. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, thank you to the moderator for putting my Instagram up there, and Yatu Marvelous Hitch. That's how you can find me on Instagram. On Facebook, it's just my government name, and Yatu Marvel. Lose the is Hitch, but I have a website. It's called thehitchagency.com. And you can go there, find out more about me, find out more about my formal training and my background, and find out how to book me for a free consultation, how to book me for sessions. I also have some really great blogs and articles on my website that can give people insight into relationships, dating, romance, and healthy versions of those. And so that's what HITCH stands for, healing individuals to connect healthily. I spent the majority of my life pursuing romance, pursuing dating, pursuing relationships with women, but never thinking to myself that I wanted the result to be something healthy. I may have used some adjectives that would fall into that category, but healthy was never the focus, when that actually should be the main focus, right? And so what a lot of people have to do in life is learn how to be attracted to what is healthy for them, right? And so many people experience heartbreak over and over again because they think they have a type, and that's what they keep going after, and that is actually what's causing them the heartbreak, because they think they're attracted to what was projected onto them that they should be attracted to. They never found out for themselves what they should really be attracted to, and that is what is healthy for them. And so unfortunately, a lot of people, including myself at times in my life, have been attracted to toxicity, attracted to chaos, attracted to power struggles between men and women, as opposed to harmony and cooperation. And so, yeah, that's how to find me. And I love to help whoever I can that desires to have a healthy romantic experience. I would like to give you all the tools that I possibly can. Every tool that was handed to me, I would love to place into your tool belt so you can use them to get the desired results that you want.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate you, man, for coming on. You guys, make sure you follow Nyatu. I am a huge fan of you. And if you ever see, there's video out there of Nyatu and I on a podcast, you'll see my excitement and my enthusiasm. And I'm just so thankful that we've been able to finally get together on Q's Lounge, man. And you are always welcome. If you got something burning on your heart, man, and that God's put on your heart that we need to talk about, Q's Lounge is that space for you at any time. You are welcome. So just thank you again.
God bless, man. Something's burning on my heart right now. I really respect you, Q. You are secure enough within your manhood to express admiration, affection for another man um, openly. And so we've been trained and conditioned not to be okay with that, man. But I love my friends. I love my brothers. And I really do admire and appreciate what you're doing with your platform. I think you're taking a brave stance. I can see that it's an authentic and genuine stance. And man, I probably haven't said it enough, but I definitely respect you. I've definitely been on the lookout for Q's Lounge. Some of the shows that I did that you were a part of, those were some of my most enjoyable times being a guest. And so I appreciate the questions that you asked. I know that you put thought into it. I appreciate the intentionality of this entire show and how you set it up, man. And when I say I'm honored to be here, I mean it. I am honored to be here, man. I got nothing but love and respect for you. Salute.
I appreciate you, man. It means a lot. So Q's Lounge is a vibe. Can you let everybody know that Q's Lounge is a vibe?
Absolutely. If they're watching, they can't miss it. But yeah, Q's Lounge is definitely a vibe. We had a conversation about intimacy, but I think the energy of the conversation was intimate. And I think the vibes tonight have been intimate. And so, yeah, if you're watching this show right now, share it with your friends. If I'll speak to the people who'll be watching the replay because I know some people will catch it tomorrow on my wall, the link to it. And of course, I'll be resharing it on in as many spaces as I can. But yeah, Q's Lounge is not just a vibe; it may be the vibe for love and romance and honesty, where men can be open because there aren't a lot of safe spaces. I get flack. You wouldn't believe it, but I get flack all the time about being open and honest and about pursuing love. I heard some guys a couple of weeks ago say that any man who's intentionally looking for a relationship, intentionally looking for marriage, was gay. And I've had some women, going in on men who make dear future wife posts, which I was doing that from the sincerity of my heart, campaigning for Black love, trying to encourage people to see the benefits of healthy Black love. And so, yeah, people don't always embrace that. And so, yours is one of the few safe spaces for men. No one's going to get called a simp. No one's going to get called a cornball. We're going to reject the training and conditioning. We're going to reject the machismo of the barbershop. And we're going to get down to it on Q's Lounge.
That's right, man. You, I so much I want to say, man. I'm so excited about the next show. Like, I want to keep you here, but brother, again, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Please make sure you follow Nyatu, and make sure that you know that he will respond. He's got the website, all that stuff was given. And again, thank you again, brother. Thank you again for coming to Q's Lounge, and again, I hope to have you on real soon.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the team, Marlene in the background making things happen. And thank you to anybody who's watching this. We appreciate your support, and we hope and we know that you got some value out of tonight.
Amen. And so I just, again, want to thank Nyatu for sharing. There's a lot of transparency that he shared. And, intimacy was the topic, is, going beyond, and I think one of the things I just wanted to share before we wrap up is, if you're in a relationship right now and you are married, you're struggling in your relationship, sometimes you get into this war, and I would just say to just kind of just stop, stop whatever you've been doing routinely, challenge yourself, challenge your spouse, challenge your significant other, to just, maybe change the routine, change the way that you're doing things, and think about the intimacy. How are we connecting? What am I seeing about her today? Because she's not the same woman she was when I first met her. She's a completely different woman today, especially after the kids or whatever, after the things that, the losses she's had in her life. And so spending time, really, if you really want love, and the brother said it today, love, you're going to find intimacy, and you can't get there without the vulnerability. So you have to, if you want to have love, and you want to have something really close in connection, and you want to have, that toe curling love, especially before we go into the winter, we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to go a little bit deeper. And so I hope that you were encouraged, and challenge yourself too, brothers, women. Challenge yourself. To break those routines, right? Right. So that you're trying things differently and looking at one another beyond the physical. So we talked about the mental and the spiritual. Get into that, because sometimes you can get back to the other pieces just by looking and respecting one another, mentally, intellectually, and spiritually. So again, this show today in this podcast, Q's Lounge, is about all matters of the heart. It's our place to just vibe and chill. I pray that you've had a good time, that you got something that was good. I want to make sure that you get all the the resources for Q's Lounge. You can find them on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the streaming platforms. And again, I want to thank everybody that's watching from YouTube and Facebook, the new viewers, new followers. I want to thank you, and then just be sure to just share this information, share the platform. I don't ask for a cash app or anything. There was a lot of good energy and conversation that was had, and hopefully you will share it with those those who you love. But that's it. We're gonna get out. I love y'all. Thank you again for being inside of the Q's Lounge and vibing with your boy. We will see you again very soon. God bless, and I'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.